News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Cunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Cunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to stop by and ask them about that lifetime powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. Just tell them Mark sent you. Welcome on into episode 220 of On the Mark. Think about that, 220 on this Saturday, January 20th, broadcasting live and local from our KHMO studios here in Quincy. As always, you can follow me on all social media channels at Mark Hespin. That's YouTube, that's X, that's Instagram, at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. If you listen on the radio or on the KHMO app, join the fun on Facebook. Just search On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. You can follow along with the Facebook Live there. And also throughout the week, we like to update things and give you kind of ideas of what we're going to be talking about, quick hitter thoughts on certain things. And I post the YouTube videos up there as well. So check us out. Follow us on Facebook. We got a lot to get to. Here on the show today. Looking ahead, we have 4 of the biggest games in the NFL this year. To me, divisional round, it is the greatest weekend of football. You have 8 teams. You're down to your final 8. 4 games over 2 days. Plenty of action. Plenty of storylines. Yes, Super Wildcard Weekend is fun, but you get the sense there's some teams that just, they don't belong. They're not legitimate contenders. Every single one of these 8 teams remaining is earned the right to be here at this point in time, either by being the 1 seed or have already proven that they can win a playoff game. And so you have the hottest teams in the NFL left. They're all battling for those coveted 4 spots in the championship games. And the championship games then can make or break your careers, right? Like getting to a championship game and losing in a championship game, you're not getting fired. You've saved your job. You've earned, all right. Once you get to the championship game, it's a coin flip, right? Things can go either way. So this is a huge weekend for people like Lamar Jackson, for people like Josh Allen, and we'll get into all of that. We're going to start off Hespin headline number 1, breaking down Saturday's game. So let's take a look at the action today in the NFL slate.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
Saturday games with the 1 seeds back in action. Starts off with the Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. Texans favored by 9.5. It's going to be about 28 degrees outside in Baltimore, but no other weather beyond that from what we can tell as far as negative weather goes. Over under 43.5 of the game. Like I said at the start of the show, I'm not going to be doing any sort of lock of the week or upset of the week like we do during the regular season. But I will give you my thoughts on the lines when I make my pick at the end of breaking down each game. To me, one of the key things will start this matchup is the fact that the Texans are going to be without Marlon Humphrey. The Texans are going to be without Mark Andrews. And I think those are 2 huge losses for the Houston Texans. I think Texans fans, I certainly was feeling this way. I think we expected those guys to be a go this week, like the extra rest. Everything would work out for them. They'd be good to go in the divisional round. No Mark Andrews, no Marlon Humphrey. Those are big losses, one on each side of the ball for the number 1 seed. And to me, the best ranked team in the regular season in the NFL in the Baltimore Ravens. One of the key matchups for this game, when I look at this game as a whole, is how do you justify the rest versus rust, right? The Texans are, the Ravens are extremely well rested at this point in time. Their starters haven't played since week 17. Week 18 versus Steelers, they rested people. Steelers win the game. They get into the playoffs. The Ravens didn't have to play in opening weekend. They've really been off for about 3 weeks here now. Now, that's great for a lot of guys' bodies. They're healthy. They're ready to go. John Harbaugh has been in this spot before, so you hope that he knows how to get his team ready for it. Obviously, this is that alarming feeling if you're a Ravens fan, because you saw this exact same thing 4 years ago. Lamar Jackson was the MVP. You were the number 1 overall seed. You had the bye week. You had a plenty of rest at the end of the season, and you came out and you laid an egg and you lost to the Tennessee Titans in an embarrassing game where Lamar Jackson had over 300 yard passing, over 100 yards rushing, but the 3 turnovers. And so this is that deep down in your guts, Ravens fans, are you feeling like, oh no, this is history repeating itself? Well, one of the things that would worry me if I'm a Ravens fan and you're looking at these matchup and you're trying to break down as the Texans come into town, a Texans team now that is as hot as they could possibly be. They beat the Colts in basically a playoff game in Week 18. They demolished the Browns last weekend, a really physical veteran team at home in Houston in the Dome with perfect weather when weather was such the story last week. And they are playing with total house money, a rookie quarterback who's having one of the 2 or 3 greatest rookie quarterback seasons we've ever seen. Right up there with Justin Herbert, statistically wise, and now right up there with Andrew Luck, not only statistically wise, but also playoff appearance and playoff wins as a rookie. So this is a Texans team that is absolutely playing with an immense amount of house money and completely free and loose and really good football right now. One of the key stats looking at this game is now the Ravens haven't turned the ball over a ton this year. But again, if the worry is, 2019 repeating itself, we cannot turn the ball over. Lamar Jackson has got that history of kind of choking in the playoffs. Well, the Texans were 5th in takeaways defensively in the 2023 regular season. This Texans team knows how to take the ball away. We saw it last weekend at home against the Browns. There was that viral clip of DeMeco Ryans talking up his linebacker saying, look for this, jump on this route, you'll pick off Joe Flacco. They did exactly that for pick 6. So that is the key to look out for. The Texans can take the ball away. So the Ravens, you've got to fight your history on this and get that out of your heads, right? You got to battle against that, fight uphill against that. Baltimore has also outscored opponents this season 28-16. So this Baltimore Ravens defense is for real, and at home they're even more legit than they are on the road. Meanwhile, Baltimore's defense has held opponents to only 18 passing touchdowns in 17 games, while only limiting them to 6 rushing touchdowns. Think about that. 24 total touchdowns against the Ravens defense this year. This Ravens defense is the best defense in football. You look at some of the names on this defense: Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Jadeveon Clowney, Metabike, the defensive lineman who led the Ravens in sacks with 13 sacks. This is a defense that will get after this young Texans offense. Also, I will say, when you look at the schematics of this game, the Ravens and Texans played week 1 of this year, and they got after C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had an okay game, but you look at what this Ravens defense did to Kyle Slowick's offense, the offensive coordinator Slowick, who's getting all these head coaching job interviews for the Texans. So I wonder if his head's been elsewhere this week. Also, he's from the Kyle Shanahan tree. While they don't run exactly what the Niners and maybe the Dolphins offense does, it's a lot of that same passing concepts. And when you look at what the Ravens did to the Dolphins, to the Niners at San Francisco, this Ravens defense will be more than prepared for whatever with the Texans are going to throw at them. The difference will be when they played C.J. Stroud week 1 versus them playing C.J. Stroud here in the divisional round. He's a completely different quarterback. He's now a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And yes, that the Ravens defense really held the Niners and the Miami Dolphins in check, but they don't have C.J. Stroud, who looks like he's just becoming an otherworldly talent in starting quarterback. I say all of this to say, I really believe in the Ravens in this game. I think the Ravens will take care of business at home. The key will be for the Texans to win this game. can the Texans get out to an early lead and get an early turnover? If this game midway or late in the first quarter is 10-0 Texans and they've already picked off Lamar Jackson once, will the Ravens get extremely tight and start panicking and falling back into that, oh my God, it's 2019 all over again? If the Ravens can avoid that type of start, there's no reason why the Ravens shouldn't win this game. At home, the cold weather, I think, plays into the Ravens' hands. They can really run the football. The Texans have struggled to run the football consistently this year. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson is the MVP. I think you'll see over 100 yards rushing for Lamar. I think he's going to take the game into his hands. If they cannot turn the ball over and not let the Texans get easy points and good field position off of turnovers early in this game and build momentum, the Ravens should be fine. I like the Ravens to win this game. I actually think the Texans will probably cover late. I think it's going to be Ravens 30-24, Texans kind of late cover. I like the over in this game. I think the Ravens will score a bunch of points on that Texans defense. Listen, the Texans, Will Anderson Jr., DeAndre Houston Carsons, they have some players on defense. And I love D'Amico Ryans, what he's done, but I'll take the Ravens. I'll take the over. I'll take Houston to cover if I'm looking at those lines in that betting cycle. Listen, big game for Lamar Jackson. He's facing the most pressure of any quarterback in the NFL this weekend. I truly believe that, even more than Josh Allen. Josh Allen will have a little bit of the excuse of, it's Mahomes. If he loses, he'll just say, like, what can we do? The dude is the greatest quarterback maybe of all time, and he's building that resume. Lamar, you're at home. You're the 1 seed. You have a home path to the Super Bowl, and you're facing a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback. You're the MVP. Pressure is on Lamar. Can he show up? I think he's going to. Isaiah likely have a big game. OBJ will have a big game. They'll take Zay Flowers out of the game. D'Amico Ryans is not going to let Zay Flowers go off for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. So look for Dalvin Cook, sign him off the street, him and Gus Edwards to get some carries, that run game to be explosive. C.J. Stroud will play well, but I don't know if he can play well enough against this great Ravens defense to throw the 3 touchdowns he's going to need to throw to win this game. I'll take the Ravens. I'll take the over. Texans cover late. So the Ravens move on hosting the AFC Championship game. You listen on the Mark, News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai. Let's move on to the nightcap game. Packers at the 49ers. San Francisco, the line on ESPN Bet this morning is up to San Francisco -10. Extremely disrespectful to the Green Bay Packers. Over under 50.5. Listen, I think the biggest story in this game is Kyle Shanahan, the master, versus LaFleur, the pupil. Now, the Shanahan tree is growing, right? It's really, really expanding. Mike McDaniels is one of the coaches, I would say, that truly is of the Shanahan tree. I would argue that LaFleur and Sean McVay are more contemporaries with Shanahan. While, yes, Shanahan got the bigger jobs before them and he kind of still employed them, the three of them are still more their own offensive gurus, contemporaries within the same system. Not necessarily, Shanahan taught those guys. They belong in Shanahan's tree. They're more still like Shanahan's dad's tree. You know what I mean? Like in that overarching tree. But let's be honest. Kyle Shanahan is 2-0 against Matt LaFleur in the playoffs in 2 giant games. The last time they played was Aaron Rodgers' final playoff game as a Green Bay Packer, where the 49ers with no offense went in there and shut down Green Bay on the road. Kyle Shanahan has outscored the Packers 50-30 in his 2 games against Matt LaFleur's Green Bay Packers team. Now, I think this is a different Green Bay Packers team. I really do. I think this is a better offensive Green Bay Packers team than we saw, especially in that last matchup for Aaron Rodgers' final playoff game. I think they're gelling more. I think Jordan Love plays way more within the system. Obviously, Aaron Jones has really come alive. He's been the best back in the NFL over the last 4 weeks. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jalen Reed, this young wide receiver core. You could throw Wicks in there as well. This Packers offense is young, They don't know what they don't know, which is kind of a scary thing, and they are explosive. You love the tight end, Musgrave as well. Solid offensive line. It's not the best offensive line the Packers have had in the last couple of years, but it's a really solid offensive line. I think they could add a piece or two this offseason, and that could become quickly one of the best offensive lines in football. On defense, this Packers defense, you have a tough job ahead of them, right? You have to stop the number 3 ranked overall offense in the NFL. Second in yards per game at 390, basically 400 yards per game. And what's really going to be the test for Green Bay this week is Dallas was so one-dimensional. Dallas has just not run the football well or consistently all season long. And because Green Bay came out with such a great defensive game plan and Dallas was so tight and they got those turnovers and that momentum, that avalanche so quickly, they did not have to worry about Dallas running the ball at all. Dallas was one-dimensional with, for the whole game with 8 minutes left in the first quarter because the game just got so out of hand. That's not going to happen with this San Francisco team. And even if somehow Green Bay jumps out to a 10-0 lead, 14-0 lead in the first quarter, this San Francisco offense will still run the ball. This is a great rushing game attack for San Francisco. And throughout the 2023 season, even though Green Bay's defense has had nice showings in Week 18 versus the Bears and a great showing last week against the Cowboys, overall, this team in Green Bay was the 5th worst rushing defense in the NFL, giving over 128 yards per game. So that is going to be a real key matchup. Can San Francisco run the ball down the throats of the Packers? I think they can. I think they will. Overall, I think the line is a little disrespectful at -10. This is that. I mean, that is Vegas basically just telling you they think this double digits. They think it's going to be a blowout. I struggle to see that. I think this Packers team is so young and playing with such good vibes right now. And Matt LaFleur had them so prepared for Dallas. I think he will have them prepared for San Francisco. I think the problem will be San Francisco's just got all the dudes, right? I mean, all the dudes. McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Trent Williams. All the dudes on offense. And then when you Kyle Juszczyk. And then when you look at the defense, Chase Young, Eric Armstead's going to be back and healthy for this game. Nick Bosa on the defensive line. That is an assignment for the Packers offensive line. And that is, yes, they held Micah Parsons. But even if you can hold Bosa in check, then you still got to deal with Armstead and Chase Young. Not to mention Fred Warner, Charcavius Ward. This defense is loaded. And this really feels like that young, really fun, high school football team that is making a playoff run, and their star quarterback is a sophomore, and they have a bunch of juniors on this team. You're like, God, this team is going to be good now. Like, they're going to be good for the next 2 or 3 years. Like, man, they're young. And then they run into, like, in the quarterfinals, a team with just a bunch of 18-year-old seniors, and it's just like, oh, no, those dudes are bigger, they're stronger, they've seen it all. They're more experienced, and they're just going to lean on them. I think this Niners offense and this defensive line, they're just going to, by the fourth quarter, you're going to see a team that pulls away, and you're going to see a team that's just like, oh my God, they're just throwing body blows to the Green Bay Packers. They're just out physicaling them. These are men kind of versus boys type of game. I like the Niners in this game at home. I think the line 10 is a little disrespectful. Again, I think the Packers, they're in it for long enough in this game. Jordan Love makes a throw or two that really keeps Packers fans in the game, keeps them excited. I do like the over in this game. I'll take the Niners to end up winning 33-24. Packers cover barely. They get within that 10 region. I would take the Packers in the points. I would take the over. If you're looking for just a money line bet, I'm on the Niners. Part of this is, listen, I'll be honest. I'm wearing my Bears hat. I have my Bears water jug, just took a sip in front of me. I need the Niners to win this game. You know that. You know that. Let's be honest. We're breaking barriers down. You know that. You listen to this show. I cannot afford mentally as a human being. I cannot afford mentally for the Green Bay Packers in a rebuilding year, their first year with Jordan Love, to make it to an NFC title game. That would just kill me inside, knowing that I have Matt Eberflus and maybe a rookie quarterback. Like, it's just, you might as well put me out to pasture as a Bears fan. I mean, that would just be devastating. I think it really comes down to the fact that this is Kyle Shanahan, his own LaFleur. He is going to have his guys ready to go. This Niners team, remember, they were in the last 2 NFC championship games. They feel they got screwed in both games, especially with the injury to Purdy last year. I think you're not going to see an unprepared team like Dallas, and you're not going to see a lethargic and unmotivated team like Philly. I think this is going to be a highly motivated, highly prepared, and this is the second or first best roster in the NFL. And as long as Purdy doesn't crumble under the bright lights like he did against the Ravens in prime time, this Niners team is loaded. Is loaded. Packers team is good. They're young. They're going to be here for a lot of years, and that kills me to say, but it's true. Take the Niners. Take the Packers in the points. Take the over 50.5. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. When we come back, we will move on to Sunday's slate of games: Bucks and Lions, Chiefs and Bills. The big one Sunday night. We'll have it for you in our sister station News Talk on our sister station 97.9 Kick FM. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai.
I am blessed. After I lost my mom, I was depressed and resentful. I couldn't find my way, but I am not lost.
That's right. I'm Tiffany. I work in behavioral health for youth advocate programs. Yeah, I empower Blessing with tools so she can see her strengths and set positive goals.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
No, she's a good student and a great kid. As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
We need YAP. The youth, they need strong support systems. I try to help the youth understand if you have a change of mindset, you can have a change of action.
YAP gives communities alternatives to residential care, youth incarceration, and neighborhood violence. After completing our program, nearly 90% of participants remain in their community. YAP works.
And now I'm finding my way and excited about my future.
Youth Advocate Programs. Others talk social change. We make it happen. Learn more at yapinc.org.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. We are brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai. Got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. If you're driving around right now in something unreliable in these horrible frigid temps, well, that's just dumb. You got to stop by Cunis Honda Hyundai. They're open today, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. They have the lifetime powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. They have over 3,000 new and used vehicles to choose from. They just added more dealers to the family of dealerships. If you're not into Honda or Hyundai, that's okay. I wasn't either. I got my truck from Cunis Honda Hyundai because they own Dodge dealerships. They own Jeep dealerships. They own Ford dealerships in the Cunis family, and they can find you the vehicle, bring it down here to Quincy. That's what they did for me, and then you're driving off the next day. It's a special, special thing that Cunis Honda Hyundai has going on. Join the family. Tell them Mark sent you. All right, we jump into it. Hespin headline number 2, Sunday's slate of NFL action.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
The divisional round tomorrow brings us the Bucks and the Lions and the Chiefs and the Bills. We have, I think, the only matchup, some surprises for today, right? The Texans winning, beating the Browns, a little bit of a surprise. The Packers obviously upsetting the Cowboys, a surprise for sure. And then, for the Bucks team, where they were 4 weeks ago versus where they are now, it's incredible growth for them. So let's start with the Bucks at the Lions. Detroit favored by 6, over under 49.5. I believe this game will end up being close because I believe that all Lions games this year have just been that way. The Lions scored 27 points a game, and they gave up 23 points a game this year. So this is what the Lions do, right? They score, they get into shootouts, and the back end of their defense can let up a lot of points. One of the biggest, I know this seems silly. It has nothing to do with stats at all. But the Lions quarterback, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he did something really, really stupid this week. He gave the Bucs billboard material. He came out and he said, the wide receiver group, the Tampa Bay would be really good if they had a quarterback. Listen, Baker Mayfield's been playing extremely good football. And what did Baker do? He heard the quote, of course. He handled it really well, which is a good you see Baker, he's learning. He wants to get that big contract from Tampa, and he certainly earned it. And he handled it well and said, oh, yeah, I saw it. And maybe he needs to watch a little more tape because he talked about a guy who didn't even, hasn't even played for us this year and stuff like that. So the Bucs are going to come in, and they're going to come in firing. And one of the things that scares me for the Lions in that sense is the Lions will win this game if the Tampa Bay thinks they're going to try to run the ball to victory. The Lions have one of the best rush defenses in football. I think they're only giving up 88 yards per game rushing on the season. They will shut your run game down. The problem is you can throw the ball on the Detroit Lions. Now, last week at Ford Field, it was an electric atmosphere. I expect the same this week. I think it's going to be a real difference maker. Tampa Bay was at home. They were comfortable. The back end of Philly's defense is worse than the back end of Detroit's defense, and Philly just laid over. They went belly up. They quit. This Lions team is anything but that. Ford Field will be absolutely electric and loud, and they're going to force the Baker Mayfield to try to win the game and be a hero. And the other thing the Lions will do is they'll control the clock. They run the ball extremely well with Montgomery and Gibbs. They have a bunch of guys who can easily move the chains with St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta. This is a Lions team with the best, I think, offensive line remaining in the playoffs with Decker, Penei Sewell, Ragnow. This group is nasty. They're maulers. They're fun to watch. They're creative offensively with Ben Johnson. I worry a little bit about him taking all the interviews. Like, where's his head at? Is he focused on this game? Is he ready to go? This Bucs defense has still got some dudes who are game wreckers. Vita Vea, Devin White, Levante David, Antoine Winfield Jr. The key will be the Lions running the ball, the Lions controlling the clock, forcing the game into Baker's hands, letting Hutchinson try to attack Tristan Wirfs and that good offensive line for the Bucs. Can they get pressure on Baker? Can they sack Baker? Can the crowd play a huge factor? Can they force Baker into a turnover or two? If you're telling me this game's going to come down to Baker having to be a hero, I like the Lions in this game. I like the over 49.5. I like the Lions -6. I think this is one of those games that is tight early. They're kind of figuring each other out. Maybe Tampa gets out to an early lead. I could see this game at halftime, 17-17, kind of a little bit of a nail biter for the Lions. And then what happens in the second half? The Lions make some adjustments. They control the clock. They hit a couple big plays. Jared Goff, comfortable at home behind that great offensive line. They pull away. I like the Lions winning big in this one. I think they can score. I think the Lions end up winning 35-20. I think this is or 21, something like that, 35-24. I think the Lions win. They win big. They control the clock in the second half. The Lions move on to an NFC title game at San Francisco. One of the things that I think is going to be really fun to watch out for in this game is the fact that you have these two quarterbacks who were both drafted number 1 overall, who have now both found homes that I think are really embracing them and are really built great for them. Baker is a moxie guy who can hang in the pocket and he can give your guy a chance. And the Bucs have Godwin. They have Evans, dudes who that's exactly what you want. Even Otto, the young tight end, I like him a lot for Baker and his style of play. I also think the same thing about Jared Goff. You look at those running backs with Montgomery and Gibbs, they give him so many options, that offensive line that makes him so comfortable. I know that people are, I think, concerned that Detroit emotionally, they left it all out there. They gave too much in the win over Stafford and the Rams. I think this Detroit fan base, and Dan Campbell is going to have his team ready to go emotionally, mentally. I think they're going to be sharp. I think you get another week of kind of rest for Laporta. He'll play a little bit more of a factor in this game. Look for St. Brown to attack Antoine Winfield Jr. and that Bucs secondary. I just like the Lions right now. I really think they are the most complete team overall, top to bottom, and they're at home, and they have an incredible advantage in the dome. Indoor Cats, they play well in the dome. They play well at home. This team can score. I believe this Lions team is going to hit their average. They're going to hit 27. Can Baker get to 20, 27, 30 points on the road in that atmosphere against Hutchinson, McNeil, Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, that good front seven, even though, the back end of the defense isn't great. It's better than Philly's, and this team is going to be playing with passion, unlike Philly. I think that's a really big, tall task for Baker in this Bucs offense, especially when they're going to have no run game. Detroit will take away Rachaad White in that run game. Go with the Lions. They'll cover the 6, take the over. Lions. They're headed to an NFC title game. All right. The big one, the granddaddy of them all. It's weird. It's CBS on Sunday night. And I think this is the NFL giving CBS a ratings kind of like you deserve this one. We moved your noon game on Sunday to Monday afternoon, and I think that game didn't have as good of a rating as it probably should have because it was a work day, 3:00 start, Martin Luther King Day. Some people watched, some people weren't, and so CBS gets Sunday Night Football with the two biggest brands and the two biggest quarterbacks in football right now, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs, Bills, the game that has really become this generation's right now, Manning and Brady. This is it. Mahomes has the rings. He has the MVPs. Josh Allen has all the talent. He is deserving of those things, but it feels like he's just been boxed out. He's been boxed out. Here's to me one of the really key things to look at when we're talking about Chiefs and Bills. The Buffalo Bills are one of the highest scoring offenses in the league, scoring 27 basically points a game. KC holds opponents to about 17 points a game. But KC's on the road. This is in Buffalo. The weather will be, cold. It's not going to be snowing currently during the game. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a little windy. And this is the first time in Josh Allen's playoff career where he has the advantage of being at home, and he legitimately has a run game. Like, not just like, they kind of can run the football. He legitimately has a capable running game that he can lean on to get that extra first down in a drive, that he can lean on to take a little pressure off him so he doesn't throw a bad pick. And that, I think, is all extremely crucial. The key will be the Bucs. I think the Bills will score 24, 27 points at home in this game. I know Kansas City's defense really good. They have Karlaftis. They have Chris Jones, Willie Gay, Justin Reed. They got dudes, right? They can hold opponents, but this is a good Buffalo offensive line. Josh Allen's the least sacked quarterback in football. Will Kansas City do a better job of containing Buffalo, in Josh Allen's run? Will Josh Allen have a 50-yard touchdown against this Kansas City defense? Probably not. I think they're more disciplined and playing a little bit better football right now than the Steelers defense is, especially on the front seven. Without, they were missing TJ Watt last week. But this is a Bills offensive line that doesn't let Josh get sacked. And this is a Josh Allen quarterback who is willing and ready to make the play, the Superman play. So I think this Bills offense is going to score 24, 27 points. This Chiefs offense is only scoring 21 points a game. This Chiefs offense had the highest output, is that week 4 against the Bears where they scored 44? It certainly helped their average. You take that game out, scoring average goes down even more, about 20, maybe less than 20 points a game. I mean, it's a concern. It's a real concern for me. And I get it. Buffalo's defense, Buffalo's linebackers are decimated. You're talking practice squad guys. Now the front line, Ed Oliver, Leonard Floyd, they got some dudes up there. The back end, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, they're healthy in the safeties. But I'll tell you what, the corners and linebackers are decimated for the Buffalo Bills defense. They are, of the 8 teams remaining, they are the most injured. And that includes Mark Andrews and Marlon Humphrey not being there for Baltimore. This Bills team and this Bills defense is the most injured, and no Gabe Davis. So they have their second best receiver. So this is a very, very injured Bills team. But they're at home. They have a legitimate run game. And I think Josh Allen with Shakir, with Diggs, with Dalton Kincaid, with James Cook, and himself, and this good Buffalo offensive line can do enough. I hate what I'm about to say because I know I'll Monday morning I'll feel so stupid for doubting Mahomes and doubting Andy Reid. But I believe the Buffalo is going to win this game. I believe it's going to be an all-time game. I believe it's going to be close. I would take the over. I think this turns into an offensive football game. I think that the Bills are going to end up winning 27-24, 30-27, something like that. I think it's going to be an all-time game. I think Mahomes is going to play well. Pacheco is going to play well. They don't have the linebacking core to handle that. But I think in the cold, offensively, it's just going to be both quarterbacks playing their A games. But I think Josh Allen finally getting one of these at home and finally having James Cook and at least somewhat of a run game is going to be the difference for Buffalo this time around. And I do think you're going to look at this and you're going to say, Rashid Rice, Travis Kelce, that's great. They got to step up. They got to make plays. They got to be great. And Pat's got to be great because they don't have a lot else in the receiving game beyond that, beyond Rice and Kelce. And I know that Allen's missing Gabe Davis, but Josh Allen is more of a threat to make a big play than Mahomes is with his legs, even though Mahomes can certainly move the chains and run the football. I think both quarterbacks will run the football at times and pick up big first downs. I just think this is an offensive game. It's going to become that. And I think that favors the Bills because they're at home. I'm going to feel so stupid, I know, on Monday when I'm like, why did you doubt Mahomes? Why did you doubt Andy Reid? Why Pacheco's been great. But I just think the Bills are going to get one of these. And if it's going to happen at home, and it's going to happen because Josh Allen's finally got a run game. So I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking the points. I'm taking the over. I'm going to ride with the Bills in that. So my predictions this time next week, we will be talking about the Ravens hosting the Bills, the Niners hosting the Lions in the NFC and AFC championship game. That's my prediction. I'm gonna stick to it. It's a lot of fun. So much of it is, Kansas City rushing for 104 yards per game, but they've given up 113 yards rushing. So as good as that Kansas City defense is, overall, and you look at the totality of the season, they give up more rushing yards than they rush for. And I think in this game, they'll probably outrush Buffalo. But I think it's going to be really close. I think for the first time ever, Buffalo's got a chance to outrush Kansas City because James Cook and that offense is finally finding their footing. I hate that I'm picking against the Chiefs. I know, but I'm riding with the Bills at home. Josh Allen putting on the Superman cape and finally getting over the hump. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. When we come back, we got to talk about some coaching changes in the NFL, including Bill Belichick and the Atlanta Falcons. It looks like it's becoming a done deal. We'll talk about all that next. We're live and local on America's News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app. It's on the Mark.
From the Salvation Army, welcome to Heartbeat.
It's been said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Think about some of the more stunning photos that you've seen lately. What have those pictures communicated to you? The photographer searches for the perfect shot just so they can speak through their lens. Did you know that God created the earth and all its beauty to try to communicate to us? I'm sure you'll agree that while a picture of the Grand Canyon can be great, it will pale in comparison to the real thing seen with our own eyes. So look around. What's God saying to you today through the majesty of creation?
For more episodes of Heartbeat, visit salvationarmyradio.org.
My dad, he's a double amputee, and he's one of my favorite people in the world. To me, a hero is someone who fights for our country and freedom. My dad is a hero. Homes for Our Troops built this house, and it's basically made for him. My dad can get through the wide doorways. When he is making our lunch, he can reach anything we need. He'll help me build tiny projects. Life is good here. Without Homes for Our Troops, we'd be living in a home that didn't have all these features that helped him.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives.
If they get a new house like this one, it'll help them do normal life. My dad's not just a hero, he's my hero.
Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
Time to Be Bold is helping people 55 and older like you with low vision regain your independence. Go to timetobebold.org for a list of services in your state that will give you the tools and support you need to live your bold best life. Go to timetobebold.org today.
Here's your weatherology forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. A wind chill warning continues until noon today. Bright sunshine expected today with highs around 10 above. Northwest winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight 3 below. Currently 4 below.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app. Brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about their lifetime powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. And when you're there, just say, hey, Mark sent me. It's as simple. It's a good code. I'm just telling you, get that free cup of coffee. So, hey, Mark sent me. Free tank of gas. Mark sent me. Welcome on back to the show. We're starting to wrap up the show here. I want to mention really quickly, the Raiders, I think, did the right thing. They hired Antonio Pierce. The Raiders are a really unique organization, and they're in a really unique spot. They went big game hunting the last two head coaching hires. They win for John Gruden. They spent all that money. You think it's going to work. And then that flames out. They have the interim and Rick Bisaccia, and they make it to the playoffs. And there's kind of fun energy around it. They go, no, we're going to go big game hunting again. They go McDaniel, and it doesn't work. Josh McDaniels. They give it a try again, and he wasn't ready, and he's never going to be a head coach again. And then Antonio Pierce steps in, and he did a fantastic job. I think there is a culture shift in the NFL. There's kind of these – Antonio Pierce, to me, fits into the type of coach. There's this – you either want the Mike McDaniels, Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Brian Dable type guys who are younger. They're offensive-minded. They really – you can just trust them to develop a quarterback in an offensive system – that is going to work. You want one of those guys. Or it seems like you want DeMeco Ryans, Mike Vrabel, Dan Campbell, and now Antonio Pierce is in that category. These guys are working too. Where it's like, no. These are men amongst men. These are alpha males who know the sport, play the sport, and will be an incredible CEO of your football team. Mike Tomlin is an example of that as well. And as CEO of the football team, where it's my room, I'm in control. I'm a man amongst men. Bill Belichick, an alpha amongst men. So it feels like that's the categories of football coaches right now that you want that could be successful in this league. I will say. Quickly, Bill Belichick's second interview with the Falcons looks like it's becoming more and more likely he'll join the Falcons if and when that happens. we'll talk about on the show. And I have some thoughts on what Bill would need to do, in joining the Falcons and what that could look like. So if and when that happens, look out for a YouTube video on that, or we'll certainly talk about the show here. Final break. When we come back, I got to talk a little bit about my Bears. We're live and local. It's Mornings and Markets on the Mark on News Talk 1070 KHMO.
So I have a mouse. No big deal.
Actually, mice contaminate food and spread disease.
Bed bugs? In my suitcase? No, our hotel was spotless.
Actually, bed bugs like any place there's people and cause itchy red welts.
So I saw a cockroach. Okay, 3. It's no emergency.
Actually, cockroaches can trigger asthma and spread disease. Household pests are a health threat. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association and the CDC.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. We are brought to you by the great people over at Kunis Honda Hyundai. I had just spoken with Levi Billman and Jason Buxman, the two heads over at Kunis Honda Hyundai this week. They had some exciting news. They acquired some dealerships in the Quad Cities just north of us here in Quincy. So they now have access to brand new Fords, brand new GMCs, brand new Jeeps, Dodge, Chrysler, Ram. If you want one of those new vehicles, you can go to Kunis Honda Hyundai and they can get it for you. They will keep the dealers in Quincy price checked honest. Don't be stranglehold and say, oh, well, there's only one dealership that sells GMCs in town, so if you want GMC, you got to go there, and they're going to cost you an arm and a leg. No. Kunis Honda Hyundai could do it for you. New vehicles, used vehicles, the Kunis family and the network of dealers is what makes them special. Tell them Mark sent you, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. All right, the Chicago Bears this week interviewed Greg Roman as an offensive coordinator and Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator. The Bears have interviewed a ton of people for the offensive coordinator job, and I love that the Bears have interviewed a ton of people. Here's my thoughts really quickly on the Bears and what they're doing in the offensive coordinator search. I think, first off, they are gaining a ton of information, and Ryan Poles is learning through this process what some smart minds, football minds, offensive minds think about what the Bears have in Justin Fields, what the Bears could have in Caleb Williams, and what this offense could look like to be the future of this, in 2024 and beyond. I love all that. I truly believe now we're at the point also where the Bears are trying also to continue to send smoke screens. I've heard reports from some of the people I trust on Twitter and follow that are Bears insiders that Ryan Poles has already received 5+ calls about the trade value for the number 1 pick. So I think there's so much going on to all of this. And I think part of why the Bears are taking their time with the offensive coordinator hire is that I think it will be a tell for them in what they do. And they want to try to leverage this number 1 pick if they're going to trade it as long as possible. And so if you hire Cliff Kingsbury, it becomes pretty obvious, all right, Justin Fields is on the trading block, and then his value maybe drops because it feels like, oh, now you have to trade him. I don't want to give you a first-round pick for him, a second-round pick. I'll give you a fourth-rounder. You know what I mean? Also feels like if they hire Greg Roman, it's like, oh, well, they're keeping Justin. Now the first-round pick they're definitely going to try to trade it. So now the trade value gets a little wonky and interesting. I still firmly believe, if you ask me, what I would do is I would trade the number 1 overall pick and I would get a haul of picks back. I would hire a guy like Greg Roman. I would build an offense around Justin Fields and get as much as you can. Trading the number 1 overall pick gives you so much. We saw it, what they did with DJ Moore and everything they turned it into. I just believe that is the best route to go, especially for a team right now that's looking up at Detroit and Green Bay in the division where you need to add more good players, a lot more good players to keep up with that. You're already at a deficit because you have a worse head coach. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the football. Follow me on Twitter/X at Mark Hespin. Let's have a great weekend.